Politics meets real life. We break down state and federal issues, showing how policy shapes everyday Americans. Engaged, balanced, and informative. That's our promise. I'm your host, Mikkel Jenkins.
And this is Muhammad Alec chiming in alongside.
And we have just a continuing update on the U.S. Israel Iran tensions. We are well aware that President Trump was speaking at 5:30 today. Haven't been able to dive fully into that, but however, I did catch one quote that I was sharing with Muhammad that apparently he has stated that if we did not send those B-2 bombers over to Iran, that Israel would have been wiped out already. And within 2 weeks after that, which is his famous quote, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, that Iran would have a nuclear bomb. So as we all know, that the Pentagon and other military and intelligence analysts have gone against these statements from the administration, and we're seeing this war play out, and we're seeing the disasters that are being played out as well. But we are going to provide an update on things happening globally and domestically as well. So as we know, this conflict, now in its second week, has roots in long-standing tensions over Iran's nuclear ambitions, regional influence, and support for proxy groups like Hezbollah. What began as targeted U.S.-Israeli airstrikes on Iranian military and nuclear sites on February 28th has spiraled into broader regional crisis with retaliatory strikes, citizen casualties, and severe economic ripple effects. We'll break down key elements and verified claims where possible and provide essential context. So we're going to get started here with first, Iran's oil output has indeed plunged dramatically due to the ongoing strikes. I mean,
WTI prices at hitting $100 a barrel.
Yeah, today. I mean, same thing what I said last time. I left this morning, 329. Now I'm literally seeing like 359 for gas at majority of gas stations.
And this is literally all Trump's fault. Like
this is
know
literally all
I've
Trump's
said
fault.
multiple times the president can't control oil prices.
He's
This is
controlling
like
them
one
now.
regard and where he has literally caused this.
Yeah, and we bombed one of Iran's oil refineries and or oil deposits, which made a huge explosion. I'm sure everyone saw that explosion over the weekend. But yes, that was a Israeli and U.S. targeted operation. And with all that, this compounds existing disruptions, though latest reports indicate ships are now crossing the Strait of Hormuz, while some vessels are actually turning off transponders to avoid detection amid heightened threats. And President Trump has urged vessels to show more guts and pass through the strait despite risk of an attack, emphasizing the need to keep global energy flowing. However, regional producers like Kuwait have confirmed precautionary cuts in oil production. And as a result, U.S. crude oil prices have now dipped below $95 per barrel after an earlier day peak of $117, with models indicating that if sustained for 3 months, U.S. CPI inflation could rise to about 3.5, which would be a significant jump from current levels, exacerbating economic pressures globally. Now, amid
I
this,
want to add as well, just the impact this has on the overall midterms coming up. It's easy to kind of let the grocery prices slowly get higher and then people forget exactly how much they've gone up. And
yeah,
like for a good example is like as this one woman, it's just like a big video that went viral, posted a video comparing her 2024 cart and or the exact same items 2 years later, and noticed that it was basically like 50% increase in price. So now
basically.
that stuff gradually happens, like up like five, a few percent a month. Maybe there'll be like a price jump in the quarter, something like that. But everybody's going to see and notice that gas number going up and down every single day.
Oh,
I mean,
100%. And I mean, during his first term, this is apparently from various sources that it was talked about him
yeah,
going after Iran, and actually his individuals that were close to him at the time were basically like his first administration staff, cabinet members. They were like, "Do you really want to go into the midterms with a war, high gas prices, high grocery prices?" And he unfortunately fell for that attack. I mean, there was the
I can't
interview.
believe it. I really can't believe
I
it.
can't. I mean, I really can't believe it either. Like all of these things that he stated that he was going to do: mass deportations, the wall, the economy, transgender individuals. Because we saw with his Save Act tweets that he is okay with transgenders as long as the parents approve. So all of these massive, massive wins that he thought that he had going into this election, you can see that there's been no promises kept, or everything that he said he was going to do has been completely the reverse opposite of that.
And I wanna
And
add that, like,
yeah,
it's funny seeing him try to, like, flip his stance on things because it's the damage has been done. Like, he's
it's
not
more
going to
than done.
reclaim anybody on the left. He's not going
Not
to
a single thing.
reclaim. Yeah. So, like, to see him start I remember, reading about just this is actually this morning, last night, about how he's furious with the Pentagon for why they haven't been able to take down Iran already.
It's like,
And
dude,
it's
what do you expect? Like
yeah,
this
what do you
country was
expect?
here decades before the United States was even a thing.
We
And
couldn't
like
even
that's the
beat the
thing. Like,
Taliban and all we couldn't even beat the Taliban, you know what
yeah.
I mean?
I mean, Israel could barely even beat Hezbollah, and now we're taking on Iran out of
The only
all
reason why
people.
Israel even stands a chance is because they have our backing. If it wasn't for us giving them endless weapons and money, they'd be shit out of luck a long time ago,
Yeah, and the cat's
literally
out the
decades
bag on
ago.
that too. Like Rubio, Vance, Trump have all stated with a heart in their sleeve that this is for Israel. This war is in protection of Israel, even though now we have 7 service members that have now been killed from this unneeded, unwanted attack on Iran. No
Yeah,
one was calling for this at all on both sides of the aisle. And now he's looking for a quick off ramp because he understands that the situation is escalating and that Iran has been stating they can do this for months to up to a decade. They are ready to fight us for 10 plus years, and we're trying to wrap this up in weeks and months. It's like we are not on the same level of perception to how this war is going to be played out. And Donald Trump just wants a quick fix, and that's not going to happen. He
yeah.
wants to say into how they're going to pick their next leader, and it's Kamani's son, which is like, what do you think? Like, what do you like? The way
What do
his
you
mind
expect to
just
happen?
works, it's just criminal to think that yes, you killed his dad, their religious leader, and you want to have a say into their government. Like this is not Venezuela, my friend. This is a
Yeah.
totally different monster. And
And even then, they don't have that kind of control over Venezuela. I mean,
exactly.
the current interim president is in opposition to what the United States has done, and the one candidate they want to put in power isn't in the position to actually be put in it legally with Venezuelan law. So it's like they just want to come in, take control of the oil refineries and
Yeah,
fields,
literally.
and then it's just that was the large purpose of it all.
And
And
it's like
I remember,
we win in Venezuela, but it's like we're not seeing any benefit from that, like what me and you were saying.
and
Gas
even
prices are
at the
rising, but it's like we can't even extract the oil from there because it needs to go through so much processing.
yeah,
And he's not releasing reserves. So it's like you're just gonna let people continue to pay more and more on these gas prices after you campaigned on this,
on a full especially now that he's
less than
trying
a
to
year
pivot
ago.
to affordability and people are seeing gas prices skyrocket, like, what? Affordable what? How I'm paying more than ever of anything.
Exactly. And I mean, with all this the surge going on, President Trump is reviewing a set of options to lower oil prices as soon as today.
I
These
wonder what those
options include restricting U.S. exports, intervening in oil future markets, waiving some federal taxes, and lifting requirements under the Jones Act, which mandates that domestic fuel must move only on U.S. flagged ships. The U.S. is reportedly worried that the surge will hurt U.S. businesses and consumers, and Trump is considering the midterm election implications on higher prices, which he should have been doing that a while ago, even before
Mhm.
he decided to strike Iran. And I mean, The Supreme Court, we know they said that the whole processes for these refunds is going to happen, whether it's going to be to whether it's going to be to the businesses or the consumers. The businesses will be able to set up various avenues for consumers to get that form of pay. Like I know the United States Postal Service is doing it, and there's one I can't think of the company that's doing it, but anyone that had paid um, extra on tariffs or things of that nature, they're going to give that back to the customer, which is what I like to see, and hopefully more companies follow suit with that. But then
Yeah,
also
it'd be interesting
shipping,
to see.
yeah,
I imagine it'd be like a class action lawsuit. We need to have like
yeah,
receipt
yeah.
proof of the purchase and more. I mean, something like Amazon would be easy. Everything's online, but I wonder how it'll
I feel
go
like
with other.
Amazon might have been the company. I feel like, but I feel like it wasn't.
It was a
It was
I
someone.
don't know if it was Amazon, but it was a massive company. It's
Yeah,
also on the tip of my tongue,
yeah,
but I'm blanking on it. Yeah,
definitely. And
Whole
then
Foods was one of them. I know Whole Foods was one of the
it
people who were.
might have been Whole
Yeah, I
Foods.
know Whole Foods was one of the few companies that were directly involved with the lawsuit, which went up to the Supreme Court against the tariffs.
Yeah, and wanting to shift to diplomatic revelations. So as we were talking about how Trump was the fool to fall for bombing Iran, former Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has publicly stated that Israel previously tried to pressure the Obama administration into attacking Iran, even warning they might act unilaterally if Washington refused. This echoes historical tensions as Israel has long viewed Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat. In the current conflict, President Trump told Daily Mail that he won't end the war without Israeli consent,
That's
emphasizing
crazy.
a
That's crazy.
mutual decision with the prime minister. So that means we could keep sending our own troops, our own people over there only at the consent and at the bequest of Israel. When they say we're done, we're done. Like that is not how America works. We don't work at the bidding of another country, especially one that we provide so much funding to them that their citizens don't even work. When we're here in the States paying almost $3.50 for gas, 50% plus on basic groceries, median homeowner age almost edging towards 50. All of these things going on in the States, and we continue to fully fund all of the operations in Israel, and we don't get anything for it. We get a pat on the back and come over and fight this war for us because it's important for Israel. And
And I wanna
that's, yeah,
add also to this, I think I know a big reason why so many people voted Trump in the first place. I mean, I know people close to me, a big reason why is they're talking about how he's better for wars and keeping the United
oh my
States out of.
gosh.
Yeah, I know, it was such a annoying viewpoint or
I
talking
mean,
point
even when
already.
Hillary was running, it was what she would be a woman. I mean, I know those videos when people go out to various communities and talk Trump supporters. The one lady was like, a woman could start a war with so much hormones and X, Y, and Z. I'm like, I mean, what's this
Every
guy?
US
What's
president's
Trump?
been a
Like,
man. Yeah,
yeah, I'm
literally
like,
every president's been a man. Who got us in World War One? We didn't even need to be in World War One. Like, honestly, we didn't even need to be in the First
yeah.
World War. We didn't need to be in
Only
Vietnam.
president to not drop a bomb is, if you can guess, Muhammad, which you probably could, is the good old peanut farmer Jimmy Carter. He's the
Yeah, really, Jimmy
only
Carter.
president, yeah, to not drop a bomb. Yep.
Good for him, good for him. Good man. They,
Yeah, he
honestly, I
stands
don't think
above
anyone would argue his
on
moral
that crowd,
character.
definitely. Yeah,
But
he
I
stands
think
above
it's
the
really
rest.
funny seeing how they, to people who are noticing ahead of time, wasn't really a surprise how deep in Israel's pocket Trump was. I mean, but the argument is like, oh well, the Democrats are not much better, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with that honestly. And I'll say this: I am a bit glad. I said this when it happened. I'm a bit glad Trump won 2024 because his not arrogance. Well, arrogance is a contributing factor to this, but his facetiousness, like
Yeah.
the amount he's willing to just be so openly obvious about how much he's going against what he promised, is making people really realize and learn where they want the country to go. For
Oh, and
example,
they've
right?
been doofed on MAGA
Yeah,
completely
yeah.
across the board. No America first. I mean, even Nick Fuentes, he has been. I mean, I've never been one to like his videos and his rhetoric and the way that he talks.
He
But
doesn't think I'm
now,
white. Do you know how
yeah,
funny that is? Like, what
yeah,
else
which
would
is
I be
insane.
but white? You know
But
what I
like
mean?
now in his waking up of realizing the issues with Trump, he's just going tit for tat for bat and just basically stating, you know, F this administration. They have turned their backs. They're Israel first administration. Everyone
Absolutely.
just go and vote Democrat. And he's like, what? You're going to have I think I saw the tweet. It was, gosh, I'm now paying $303.50, 59 cents for gas, but I'm so glad those four transgender athletes aren't able to compete anymore. So it's like
Yeah.
weighing in those two various topics and issues, and the transgender one falls very flat when you're paying way more out of pocket for a
When you're
lot of
yeah,
things. I will say those
cost of
cultural
living goes
issues
up, all of a
will
sudden things
go
don't matter
straight to
like
the
they used to.
wayside. Yeah, they'll go straight to the wayside if you can't make ends meet, if you're spending way too much out of your paycheck than you have in previous years under various administrations. But yeah, it's something real that the administration is going to have to deal with and try to decouple themselves from, but it's not going to happen.
And to
It's,
further
it's
add
not going
on
to
to
happen at
that,
all.
there were three main reasons why Kamala lost and Trump won, like reasons why the independents swung one way and people didn't come out for Kamala more. And it was the economy was people thought Trump would be better for the economy based off his first term. I can see the logic behind that at the time. That's the only
Yeah,
thing I'll give him
100%.
credit for.
No, I
They
give him credit for the in his first term, the criminal justice bill. That was a very good piece of legislation that I will
honestly,
say was
his
pretty good.
first term, if he just shut his mouth, he would have coasted to the second term. Coasted.
Well, if he just kept the same administration, he probably would be doing a whole lot better this time around. I mean,
Yeah,
besides with John Bolton, because apparently John Bolton was one of the
the
ones during
walrus.
his first term that was pushing Donald Trump to go after Iran, and then that's when his advisors were like, "Well, do you really want to try to stand on that hill during the midterms?" And evidently, it was a no. And then now here we are with the
Yeah,
with the
I
current
think they were just
situation.
trying to plant the seeds so they could do it the next time he became president because they couldn't get it that first time.
No, without a
But
doubt.
so the first reason why was the economy. Second reason why was because so many people disagreed with how the left's main focus was on issues, well, non-issues to most people, and that was like LGBTQ, equality and things like
Yeah,
that.
cultural
Because to most
issues.
people,
Yeah.
they say
Hmm.
well, they can live, they can vote, they can get married. How are they not equal in terms of the law to anybody else?
Yeah.
And you could argue about systemic discrimination across the board at a few different points, like, healthcare and more. But that's a different thing than saying, well, these people aren't equal in the eyes of the law. In the eyes of the law, if you're a citizen, you're equal to another citizen. And that's how it is nowadays. You can argue about classism, you can argue about other things, but the basic gist of it is I am equal to a transgender person as well, just in the eyes of an American law. And then so many people were focused on how that was the reason why the Hispanic men and the black men had a large change over to conservatives in that 2024 election, was because they said this doesn't agree with my culture, this doesn't agree
Yeah,
with what I
very much
believe.
so.
Like these people, like the African American and the Hispanic community, are two of the largest, most active church going groups. So you start telling them, well, you're a bad person if you disagree with what we're saying. They're like, okay, well, if you're going to call us out a bad person for following our traditions, we're just not going to give you guys our support, especially with how the Democrats thought that the minority vote was a shoo-in for them, because like, oh, we're the party of the minorities. Of course, the minorities are going to vote for us. And
Yeah,
then the third
yeah.
one, it was the no new wars. I mean, people really thought that Trump would keep us out of wars and get us out of them, and that Kamala or the Democrats just generally would be keeping us in it. And it doesn't help that Biden. I mean, this is the Gaza situation was what
Yeah, I was
sunk.
gonna say the Gaza's situation was really what stabbed Democrats in the back
Yeah, I
and
mean,
led to
Biden
the
and
Trump.
them.
I mean, that was what the audited DNC report stated, that it was Gaza, which I think it would probably. I think Gaza was obviously first. Transgender issues has to be second. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, my
everyone
parents.
and their mother was talking about that during the time that it was going on. Like you couldn't escape it, and it was always Democrats. Boom, boom, boom. Every single instance something bad happened, transgender. Boom, Democrats. So now they're trying to decouple from that, as we've seen with Newsom and his talks and so forth. And I've seen people actually come out against him on Twitter, just saying, he doesn't believe in anything and so forth, which I would like to see if he actually does, because that could be something that is a stick against him. If people start to see that he's just going for the populist statements and populist motives, then really he may not be the candidate that we all actually think that he is. But that's
We'll
obviously going to
see,
take
we'll
some
see.
time
There's a
as
fine line between, like, changing your opinion because it's what the mass majority of voters want versus just saying something because they wanna hear and then not actually backing it up. But
yeah, 100%.
politicians know how to do both, and that's tricky, knowing what they're actually their stance is on it. And then,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
because, like, but people saw what Biden was doing with Palestine and Gaza, how they weren't changing or improving it at all, and people thought, "Well, Kamala is just gonna be exactly that because she
right. It's
said
going to be
she's
the
gonna
same
just
exact
continue
thing.
that." Yeah, it's like my
Mhm.
parents voted Democrat every single election since they became citizens. The 2024, first time neither of them ever voted Democrat. They just didn't vote. And I know a lot of Muslims who voted Democrat, who voted Biden, did not vote or voted Trump because of specifically Palestine. I know a
Right.
lot of
Yeah.
Muslims who went for Green Party instead of Kamala because of Gaza Palestine issue, the Palestine issue, or I should say
Yeah,
the
it's a
Palestinian
very
genocide.
real issue that needs the appropriate attention and the appropriate response from our members of Congress.
And that's
And
why
as yeah,
I wanna finish up my thought before we segue into the, next segment of what we have because it's tying back to my original statement, and that is that it's a good thing that Trump became president for the sole reason is that he's so easy to not like that when he makes a stance, his popular stance, in this instance being so gung ho for Israel, people have been really seeing how not beneficial it is to the American government or American people to actually be this gung ho for Israel. And people, especially our generation, the generation above us and below us, have been just very increasingly against it. If it wasn't for the conservative boomers, which are the party in power at the moment, Israel would not be getting the kind of financial and militaristical support they have
yeah,
now.
or at least they would be there's talks would start about them getting less, like how, as I've said before, like what Newsom has been
Yeah.
stating that he's stating that it's going to have to U.S. and Israel's relationship is going to have to come over under a microscope as we see the heavy-handedness and the tragedies going on in Gaza. But however, all of this underscores the close U.S.-Israeli alliance driving the campaign. And meanwhile, Israeli officials are growing concerned about the escalating war, actually,
It's so
with
funny to
Iran.
me. They pick a fight they literally can't win without
Yeah, they
America.
can't win. They're suggesting possible exit ramps per the Washington Post. These discussions focused on de escalation amid worries over the region's stability and global economy. Talked of an end game is still early, with the decisions resting largely on President Trump, who has reportedly wavered among several conceptions of the outcome. One Israeli official noted, "I'm not sure it's in our interest to fight until the regime is toppled." Adding to back channel efforts, Trump is reaching out to intermediaries to contact Tehran and end the war. But Tehran has firmly told the intermediaries that it will not respond to the messages, citing a senior Iranian political official. And even Trump today, during a phone call, he stated that the war, I think he said like the war was basically over or was ended or it was success complete or something of that nature. And it's like, dude, you have no clue what is like truly going on and how this is going to proceed into your next 3 years of your presidency. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
going to take over every single thing you do here on out. This is going to be the nail in the wall, nail in the coffin for his presidency and for the GOP, unless they can decouple from MAGA, which is going to be hard to do. I mean, even Marjorie Taylor Greene, the loudest voice, now on the loneliest island after standing up to Trump on Epstein and things of this nature.
She
I mean,
resigned
it's like
because of how
what?
much crap she was getting from the party. I mean, she literally had death threats coming her way because she went against the GOP due to Israel. And it's like, well, clearly there's been cracks in the party that they've been trying to silence and push out. I mean, you've seen how much they've been trying to get Massey out. Trump's been massively supporting alongside Miriam Edelson and a few of the other super Zionists
Yeah,
who have just been literally putting millions to the dollar to be able to get Massey out of his position because they don't want people who aren't going to abide by what the party says regarding Israel. And people see this and they think, well, I know these GOP politicians are thinking, well, this is clearly a growing unpopular movement. Clearly, the young people, like the 40 and below people, don't like Israel like they used to. Where do we go from here? I mean, in Florida right now, in the governor election, the second most popular candidate, who's very popular with the young people, James Fishbach. I think he actually might be third, but it's Byron Donalds at first. I believe Ron DeSantis' wife second, and then James Fishbach at third. Fishbach has the majority of the youth support, like 35 and younger, because of his, largely due to his stance on Israel. Whereas Byron is a very atypical GOP guardian of protecting their values as a party, and which includes protecting pedophilia. I just wanted to say that because it actually is ridiculous. But I'll get back to that in a second.
No, yeah,
But
it's very
it's
ridiculous.
the reason why that's popular and doable in Florida is because Florida is basically the state for old Republicans now. I mean, it's
Yeah,
literally retirement Republican city.
basically, literally,
And
basically.
I think it's also so funny how people argued about voting Republican to protect their daughters when Trump has been actively working to keep the Epstein files hidden when American children girls were getting raped and trafficked due to it. So it's like, well,
Exactly.
do you really actually care about protecting American children, or is that just a line you're saying to be able to get people to vote for you? And it's clear at this point that it's just a line he says to get people to vote for him. And
Basically.
it's the more he does things, the more he speaks, the more it just comes out, and people are realizing this dude's just full of shit.
Yeah, he's got completely full of shit, and the voters are seeing that firsthand. Firsthand,
Yeah.
they're seeing that, and
And this
as
Israel, the gas prices, the economy,
yeah, it's
Iran,
all
all of
going to
this is just
boil up
making it
together,
so
and it's going to
obvious.
be, it's going to boil up together into a revolt in 2028. Just how you've seen the revolts, all of the, that's how you've seen the revolts at the ballot box at all of these other primary general elections as well. Like you're seeing it from the New Jersey governor's election, from Chitterelli, the reasoning he lost, everyone was against Trump. So that's how
Mhm.
that happened. He coupled so close to Trump that it was his own derailment. You have Democrats winning in plus 20, plus 15, plus 10 Trump districts. So the momentum is swinging, and
Wildly
it's
to the other
up to
side.
Trump to see if he's gonna be able to hit it and get a home run, or he's gonna get struck out. So I think he's gonna get struck out. But continuing on with Iran, as I was stating, following the death of the supreme leader, there is a new successor that has been named. Russian President Putin offered unwavering support to the new leader, congratulating him and pledging solidarity amid the crisis. However, as we can only guess, Trump expressed he's not happy with the selection, calling it unacceptable without U.S. approval, and warning the new
US
regime one
approval.
last time.
That's
Yeah, yeah, U.S. approval on a country that's been around before the United States was even a thing. We're gonna try to get
yeah.
approval for their election process. Like, come on, dude.
So
Like
this is what I
that's
mean. The arrogance is unreal. Like, who do you think you are to dictate what another? Imagine if China came in, murdered our president and his cabinet, and the secretary and the speaker, and everybody in the line of succession, and then said, "Oh well, we don't approve of who you guys appoint as president. How dare you do this without us?" Like, no, that's
yeah,
not our.
it's
That's not China's job to dictate who we put in as president. It's not our job to dictate what countries put in other people as their leader. It's just an attempt to control the country from
right.
within, and it's
He's
never
stating that
works.
right, stating that he doesn't agree with his leader, wants to put someone else in. But then on the same token, he is advocating and lobbying for Bibi Netanyahu not to get gosh, what's that? What am I to get a pardon? Yeah, he's actively supporting and pushing for Bibi Netanyahu to get a pardon, which should only tell you everything you need to know. The only
Yeah.
president to visit the Wailing Wall, all you need to know just from all the things that we've talked about on this podcast.
And
But
for those who don't know what charges he wants pardoned and dropped against Netanyahu is currently under
it's
charge of
corruption
corruption.
charges. Yeah.
Yeah, corruption charges for taking bribes from foreign nationals to be for various things. The
Yeah.
details
Who
exactly out.
would have thought? Literally, who'd
Yeah,
have thought?
the details
I mean,
exactly I don't have on top of my head, but due to that, he's been due to for years now, to go to court in Israel and like have his case argued. Every single time he has the court case due, when it's the
yeah,
date for it,
something happens.
something happens.
Car
Either a
crash,
war breaks out.
mistrial.
One of the reasons, October 7th, was one of the reasons why he had a court case delayed. Another reason he had a court case delayed, he had bronchitis that day.
Yeah,
That's literally, his doctor said he can't make it. He's got bronchitis, just out of nowhere. Perfect, just had bronchitis right at the perfect time, and it's so frustrating when our president and just the U.S. in general wants to play the world police. Like, dude, we've got so many issues domestically, and all
yeah.
you
I was gonna
care
say I
about,
thought MAGA and conservatives didn't want to be the police of the world. I
right,
thought that
right
was
there.
like the gist. They didn't want to be the police of the world. They wanted to bring things domestically and at home. Well, we're stuck in a rock. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place on both of these dynamics, on the
Mm-hmm.
national level,
Mm-hmm.
domestic level, and on the global level and international level. We are not at good footing on either of them. So it's like,
I'll be
what
right back.
really are you getting from this presidency? Of course, getting from this presidency. And as I've already stated on this podcast, looking at the humanitarian toll, 7 U.S. service members have now died, with the latest succumbing to injuries from an attack in Saudi Arabia, per CNN. On the Iranian side, U.S. officials are reportedly dismayed by the Israeli strike on fuel infrastructure, which have caused widespread blackouts and environmental hazards. Water desalination plants have been hit in both Iran and Bahrain, raising concerns over civilian access to essentials. Now, that's going to be something that's important because the one professor that I was talking about, which I do wish everyone go and listen to his podcast, was stating that the striking the water desalination plants is going to be the most important, because once those are strike, that's when you see a dwindling in water and fresh water to these areas. Even I remember when I was in school, in college, it was a talk about water wars. Realistically, like that's going to be the next major asset that is going to be under heavy usage and restriction on how many people have access to it. First, it's going to be oil, as we've seen and then it's going to transfer into water. And tragically, the U.S. and Israeli missiles struck an elementary school in Tehran, the fourth such incident in 6 days, killing dozens, mostly children, amid broader strikes on nearby military sites. Investigators suggest U.S. involvement in at least one school strike, though the White House denies targeting civilians. Adding to this, new analysis reveals a American Tomahawk missile likely hit an Iranian girls' school, killing 175 people, further intensifying international outrage over civilian casualties. U.S. and Israel are discussing special force operations in Iran to seize and reach uranium stockpiles. So it'll be interesting to see if there are any conflicts that arise from that, as Iran has claimed to hit Israel's main oil refinery in Hafaya and Khaybar. Their solid fuel missiles were apparently the ones that hit, causing fires and disruptions. Domestically, a planned intelligence bulletin warning of potential terror threats in the United States due to the Iran war was halted by the United States. This is something that also took place during 9/11. The FBI and CIA were not, I'm sorry, the FBI and local law enforcement, CIA, were all not sharing information, and that led to one of the greatest catastrophes on American soil. Now, however, this is raising concerns over suppressed risk. And in a related development, the U.S. has intercepted encrypted communications believed to have originated in Iran that may serve as an operational trigger for sleeper agents outside the country. So according to a federal government alert sent to law enforcement agencies, so everyone needs to be keep their head on the swivel while they're out there in the streets in America and just out about on your daily task. As we're seeing that agencies aren't sharing information because it's halted by the White House, and we're now seeing calls for sleeper agents to start to wake up across the country, inside the United States and outside the United States. And then, as you always have, Senator Lindsey Graham reportedly traveled to Israel, sharing U.S. intelligence and coaching Netanyahu on convincing Trump to bomb Iran. Now, just think about that. We had a U.S. sitting senator go to Israel, a foreign nation, to talk to their leader about how to coach the president on how to push him to bomb Iran. If that's not corrupt, then I really don't know what it is. Lindsey Graham is probably one of the biggest war hawks out there in the Republican Party, and even within the U.S. Senate, and even Congress as well. I mean, he's been pushing and itching for wars outright with multiple countries, and I would love to see if Lindsey Graham would send himself out to war, as he calls for all of these American citizens, or these American troops, to go out here and fight a war that is not even for America. It's for Israel, which has been stated time and time again. And as well, Iran's president stated neighboring countries will no longer be attacked unless strikes originate from there. Now, this isn't a de escalation. This is a turn to those allies and neighboring states and say, hey, if you continue to take rules and procedures from the United States and Israel and bomb us, we will bomb you. So if you just don't listen to them, we are on good standing. So this is going to try to get these neighboring states to push for additional negotiations and or to not even have a side and be on neutral ground during this whole conflict that is going on, which would change the dynamic completely for the United States in this war. A Washington Post intel report warns that large scale war is unlikely, as we've talked about, to fully oust Iran's regime, potentially leading to prolonged instability. And it has now been confirmed that the Office of Naval Intelligence and the Pentagon warned President Trump 1 week before the Iran war began that in most scenarios, the U.S. would fail massively with regime change in Iran and potentially trigger a global catastrophe. The U.S. has lost significant THAAD missiles. There was a meeting between Trump and some members of the industrial complex on the weaponry side about bringing up those stockpiles back to where they were before this war has started. And there are reports of damaged radars and depleted interceptors, and those radars have been taken out one by one. That has been reported by Iran. Not sure if those claims are exactly true, but however, they are dwindling the amounts of eyes that we have in the air when looking at Russian targets. I mean, when looking at Iranian targets.
Yeah,
And Russia,
I want to add to that.
yeah,
The United States does have a ton of radars in the area because shit, we've been in war there for the last quarter century.
yeah,
And they it's not something you want to deal with because they're damn expensive to maintain, to fix and get new
pretty
ones.
expensive,
Yeah, yeah.
pretty expensive.
War
So
is
yeah, it's
very expensive nowadays.
going to be interesting to
Even
see
war
if
in the
they're going to
past.
be able to rebuild a lot of those radars that were destroyed and what's really going to come for that. And if there will be another ask from the White House, the Pentagon, for more money. We got more money for wars, but not more money for the necessities of everyday
Yeah,
Americans. But
can't
we
give
also
tax
have
cuts to
necessities
individuals.
for, yeah, so we also have the necessities for the Israeli civilians, but not too much for the Americans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
And what I want to add to
wanting,
that
yeah,
too
go ahead.
is I think this is just a very good example of the idea that the United States has infinite money when it wants. It's as simple as that. I mean, we keep being told that we can't afford Medicare for all, we can't afford these benefits and more for the American individual. And then at the end of the day, we've got the government constantly, both Democrat and Republican, mind you. It's not Obama was in the Middle East; he drone strike more people than anybody else. We've got the government, the presidents from the top down to Congress, who are just war hungry, and they love the idea of feeling that power in their veins that they're able to control the dynamics in the world from their cozy little offices. And I think that the result of this is going to be the U.S. realizing that times have changed. It still can't win in the Middle East because it's literally half the globe on the other side of the globe. It's the easiest way to say literally half a globe away. It's if somebody was trying to, if we were trying to fight Canada, we'd destroy them, even if they had the same military as Iran. The issue is we are fighting at a very long distance without our full capabilities against Iran. Now we've got bases, we've got ships, we got a lot of things in the area to supplement our military approach there, as since we've built it up over the last quarter century. But the issue is that these are not the full capabilities of the US military, and we can't fully mobilize everything to get there. It takes a lot of oil, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of gas. By the way, that oil that has been skyrocketing in price lately, you know, all those Humvees, all those cars, all those tanks, all those ships, they all need oil. So this is really going to be pricing out the United States. And Mikhail, I know we've talked about this before, and it's not exactly a topic we had to talk about today, but I wanted to bring it up. Is
Yeah,
that I do absolutely think China is going to take advantage of the United States' weakness and predisposal to the Iranian situation because of Israel, and they won't
go after
focus or care
Taiwan.
about them taking over Taiwan. I think China
Yeah,
moves on Taiwan, and I
next
think
year.
that's what causes the AI bubble to pop. But that's also a separate topic.
It's going to be next year. It's going to be 2027.
Might even be by the end of the year, honestly. Like,
I've always
the longer we
forecast
drag out
2026.
in this, I know that they're definitely thinking about it because they've talked about it before, and there's been threats about it before, and they've been increasing their military drills around
I
it.
think there were, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Goldman Sachs got the information that they were going for Taiwan in 27. It's going to happen. And I've been seeing
It's
it's
going
going
to
to
happen.
happen. I said 26, 27, they're going to go for it because why not? I mean, you see that we're restricting their oil. So the one thing that we have that's important to them is the chips. So if
Hmm.
they take that, then you're really going to see a war start. You're really going
The
to
Trump
see
admin, unless the
another silent
Democrats
war.
take power and prevent him with the war powers resolution, he would absolutely try to go against China with some kind of small squabbles. It wouldn't be a full fledged war because that'd be a big deal with two nations. Because once you
Oh,
declare
yeah.
war, then the allies have to get involved. If
Yeah,
it's
if
just
you
military
impose
squabbles
it.
against the other,
I
we
think
won't
it's
need
harder.
NATO won't be coming in with
Yeah.
our help us against China. Russia and India wouldn't be coming in to help China. Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I think they take Taiwan, and I think that we try to do something about it.
I think we might have lost Muhammad, or is this on my end? I think it's on his end. We'll have Muhammad come back and join us, but I'm going to continue going over the domestic political and legislative responses from a lot that has happened. So, as we know, the war's economic fallout, skyrocketing oil prices, halted shipping, and projected inflation spikes have ignited fierce debates in Congress over fiscal policy and taxation to address rising costs for Americans. Lawmakers are pushing bills aimed at offsetting inflation's bite on working families while targeting wealthier individuals and corporations for revenue. Let's break it down, including an assessment of potential impacts on the middle class. So, starting with tax proposals, as we know, Senator Cory Booker, alongside colleagues like Chris Van Hollen and Senator Bernie Sanders, have been a key proponent of reforming the tax code to close loopholes for the ultra wealthy. One notable effect is sensible taxation and equity promotion, the STEP Act, which targets the stepped up basis loophole. So this provision allows heirs to inherit assets without paying taxes or unrealized gains from the original owner's lifetime. This bill would tax those gains upon inheritance, exempting the first 1 million per individual to protect smaller estates, family farms, and businesses. Estimates suggest this could generate tens of billions annually, with the Joint Committee on Taxation valuing the loophole at around 41.9 billion in lost revenue yearly. Booker has also advocated for his RISE credits, a plan to expand tax credits for workers, potentially cutting taxes for over 150 million Americans by boosting the earned income tax credit and raising eligibility thresholds up to 90,000 for married couples while increasing maximum benefits. This could add 2.5 trillion to the deficit over a decade unless offset by measures like equalizing capital gains, like capital gains tax with ordinary income rates. In a historic 24-hour speech last year, Booker highlighted these ideas as central to the 2025 tax debates, emphasizing fairness and economic strain. Overall, these policies would likely be beneficial to the middle class by providing direct tax relief through expanded credits and funding public programs without imposing new burdens on moderate income households, though the deficit impact could indirectly affect them if not fully offset. Senator Bernie Sanders teamed up with Representative Ro Khan, and recently introduced the Make Billionaires Pay Their Fair Share Act just last week. This legislation imposed a 5% annual wealth tax on the 938 U.S. billionaires whose collective net worth stands at 8.2 trillion, and only targets those with 1 billion or more in assets, sparing everyone else. Economists have stated and projected it could raise 4.4 trillion over the next decade. In the first year, revenue would fund $3,000 in direct payments per person in households earning 150,000 or less, up to 12,000 for a family of four, and directly addressing war-driven cost of living hikes. Subsequent funds would reverse Medicaid cuts from the Big Beautiful Bill and establish a 60,000 minimum salary for public school teachers, and cap child care at 7% of household income. Sanders frame Sanders frames this as combating unprecedented inequality, where billionaires have gained 1.5 trillion in wealth while 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Critics like the American Enterprise Institute argue avoidance behaviors could have the revenue to 2.3 trillion, but supporters see it as a vital step toward an economy for all. This bill would be highly beneficial to the middle class, offering immediate cash relief, improved healthcare access, better education through higher teacher pay, affordable healthcare, and all funded by taxing extreme wealth without raising middle class taxes. Meanwhile, Senator Chris Van Hollen has also unveiled a bold plan this week to eliminate federal income taxes for roughly half of U.S. workers, funded by a new surcharge on millionaires. It defines a living wage as 46,000 for individuals or 92,000 for married couples filing jointly, exempting those earners from income taxes entirely and boosting the number of non-payers from 37 million to 66 million. The surcharge adds 5% on income over $1 million, 10% over 2 million, and 12% over 5 million, impacting about 615,000 filers and generating 1.5 trillion over 10 years. This ties into Van Hollen's broader push for tax equity, including his millionaire surtax, which is a 10% add-on for incomes over 1 to 2 million, and he co-sponsorship of the STEP Act. So, as a potential 2028 presidential contender, Van Hollen has positioned this as relief for middle-class families hammered by the energy crisis. These proposals would be extremely beneficial across the board to the middle class, particularly lower middle-income individuals and families, by eliminating their federal income tax and the tax bills that Senator Bernie Sanders and Cory Booker have introduced, and providing more disposable income for inflationary times when funding comes solely from high earners. These proposals are coming as Congress is grappling with the wars, inflationary pressures, and the rising costs across the nation. So it is good to see that senators and representatives are starting to come together and think about ideas how the average American can start to get a leg up in the drowning of rising costs that have been happening across the nation. Separately, the Trump administration has subpoenaed Arizona's 2020 election records as part of ongoing investigations. As we know, they did raid the election headquarters in Georgia, and it seems like they're trying to tie that to the 2020 election and stating there was fraud within that election, specifically fraud from China. However, Trump has also stated that he won't sign any legislation until the SAVE Act is passed, though I don't think he knew this, but bills can still become law after 10 days on the president's desk if not signed or vetoed. Senate Democrats are threatening a wave of war votes to force an Iran hearing. As we know, the War Powers Act failed on both sides of the aisle, aiming to compel testimony from administration officials on the conflict strategy and risk. On the political horizon, betting markets and polls suggest Democrats have strong odds of retaking the House in 2026 midterms, with Polymarket giving them an 85% chance, while Republicans are favored to hold the Senate at 57%. Race to the White House pages pegs them at 69% for the House amid a national generic ballot lead of about 5 to 6 points per New York Times and Real Clear polling. Cauchy shows a 45% chance for a full Democratic sweep versus 40% for a split with Dem House and GOP Senate. The optimism for Democrats, as we've been talking, stems from historical midterm trends against the president's party and incumbents, especially with Trump's approval completely underwater and strong Democratic fundraising in key races like we're seeing in Texas as well, which a Democrat could very well win that seat in the general election. However, redistricting could require Dems to win the national vote by 8 plus points for a solid majority. And adding to GOP the challenges, Republican Representative Kevin Kiley has left the GOP and will seek re-election as an independent in California's new redrawn 6th district, a Democratic-leaning area after gerrymandering dismantled his previous Republican-friendly seats. This is all because of Gavin Newsom's Prop 50. So this move further tightens Speaker Johnson's already slim House margins as Kiley's departure reduces reliable Republican vote in a chamber where every defection counts. Meanwhile, in the Senate, Democratic challenger Graham Plattner a Maine oysterman and veteran, is overtaking incumbent Republican Senator Susan Collins in recent polls for the 2026 race, with one survey showing Plattner leading 49% to 38% in a hypothetical matchup. Now, with all of this going, we're seeing that Democrats are and a new wave of Democrats are slowly rising through the gaps and beating out incumbents from their own party. And even as we're going to be seeing soon, as these summer months continue, they're going to start beating Republicans in the general election. And then focusing on Montana Senator Steve Daines announced he won't seek re-election as well, so that sits at about 32, I believe, Republicans who will not be seeking re-election in this upcoming cycle. So I'm sorry, that actually puts it at 34 House Republicans and overall 55 incumbents not running, the highest at this stage since 2018. And we know that this wave is driven by redistricting and internal frustrations, which could reshape the midterms and influence how Congress handles the ongoing war. Now, also focusing on the Epstein files, because those are still important even as this war rages on and tries to distract us all from what's really going on in the Department of Justice. The Justice Department has released previously withheld FBI reports detailing 4 interviews in 2019 with a victim who accused Jeffrey Epstein of abusing her as a teenager and also allegedly sexually assaulted by Donald Trump when she was between 13 and 15 years old. These summaries, known as FD 302 forms, describe graphic claims, including an introduction by Epstein to Trump in the 1980s. Though the allegations remained uncorroborated and Trump has denied them, the release follows scrutiny over missing documents from the initial Epstein Transparency Act disclosure, because these things should have already been made public to the American citizens and the American public. It should have already been known that these things were happening, but no, once that oversight committee was called for Pam Bondi to attend, we started to see the release of all these additional files that have implications of Trump and Epstein raping from what is allegedly a 13 to 15-year-old. So in context of all of this, including the war, this war with Iran stems from the nuclear program, support for proxies attacking Israel, and regional dominance bids. So with some claims like exact THAAD losses over Russian nuclear facilities remained unverified or speculative claims about what's really going on in that area. The verified strikes and economic fallout paint a picture of a high-stakes conflict with no quick resolution. So to all of our listeners, I don't think Muhammad's going to be able to join us back. But as always, to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Behind the Ballot, where we keep politics engaged, balanced, and informative. Stay curious, stay critical, and stay involved. I'm Mikhail Jenkins, and until next time, keep looking beyond the headlines and behind the ballot. Thank you.